everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. And this is always something we look forward to. We are talking about the box office and we are looking at our predictions and how good they were or how bad. We all did pretty good, actually, looking at the fall box office predictions for 2024. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and David's here.
Hey, how's it going?
And Manda's here.
Heyo.
Yes. Have we all had a good holiday season and good New Year's?
Yeah, no rest for me. So
Yeah.
it's been
Right.
exhausting.
Never stops. Never
No
stops.
rest for the weary.
Yeah, it's so hectic. And yeah, it was nice though.
Even in the Hallmark world, we have we had the Christmas Insanity, but then we have them starting two shows this weekend, and we have What Calls the Heart season 12 and The Way Home season 3 starting this weekend, and we have new movies already airing. So there really is there's no rest.
There's no break for any of us. No, because now we're kicking it straight into award season tonight, and I'm like, I'm tired. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's like, and people are already starting to talk about awards for 2025. Who's the big contenders? I'm like, oh, wow.
I don't even know what's really coming out this year yet. So
Same. I'm like, let's just pump the brakes. I understand
Yeah.
everyone's excited because you see different directors and like everyone's excited for like Bong Joon-ho and all of that. But I'm like,
Yeah.
it's still 2024 technically in my eyes, guys. Let's
Yeah,
calm
I
down.
did a most anticipated video, and it was hard because to even get in that mode, was was really tricky.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, plus all we can think about is Den of Thieves Pantera. So I mean, so
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
So-
That's
What
the
else is
big
there to be
one.
excited about?
That and Wolfman apparently. So
Yeah.
which I forgot was coming out too in
Everyone
January.
did.
So
Yeah.
Well, so we did our predictions, our top 10 for the fall season, and we actually did pretty well for I mean, obviously just because it was fairly obvious, what movies were going to peak, but there was really only one movie that was the big goose egg, that we all had high. Of course, that was Joker Folie à Deux.
boo.
And I don't know. I mean, how did you feel about Joker, David? What do you think? What do you think they got so wrong about it?
I still think, like, from the get-go, I thought it was a great idea. And even after watching the movie, I feel like there is something there. The idea of trolling your fans is great, especially at that level, using $200-300 million, whatever that budget was, to do so. I love that. I just think it wasn't a good movie. I think it was a bad musical. If it's $200-300 million, being used to troll your audience, I find something there. I find that there's something worthwhile there, and I think that's a great, fun idea, especially at this scale. But it just doesn't work. It's not a good musical. There's not enough action. There's not enough really anything, and it just kind of fails at that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it's an interesting failure.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what on earth was this? Which, so I give it like a certain degree of kind of credit for that, but like that only goes so far.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
But yeah, it was bizarre, and I did not expect them to be so critical of their first movie. That was just so odd to me, the way they kept referring to it as a TV movie. I'm like, what?
It's such a frustrating film to watch. Like it's just so frustrating, and it's like they also drag the people that actually liked the first one, and it made it just we're talking down.
You're like, it won the Lion at Venice. Like it was big. It was nominated for Best Picture. Like
I've never seen it. Doesn't make any sense to me. I've just never seen someone literally deconstruct what they created prior and then just completely destroy everything that they made. Like,
I love
It
that.
was, it was bizarre.
you're like, I'm for it. Give Todd Phillips another one to just like break down. Like,
And I love the first movie too, but as soon as he
yeah.
started telling me that I'm an idiot for liking it, I was like, hell yeah, I'm here. I love it. But then it's
Yeah.
just a bad movie, so it's tough.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it is a bad movie. For me, it's the jukebox musical. For
yeah,
like, if they actually wrote original songs and committed, I would have been fully on board the entire time. But they
totally.
kept using the exact same song over and over again. And some of the song placements also didn't make sense to what the characters were feeling. So I just think that a lot of it was misplaced.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
also just the way that they had him sing like that was so bizarre to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
we know he can sing. He in Walk the Line he sung.
Yeah.
And so why did they have him sing like that? It's a fantasy sequences. The songs are almost all fantasy sequences. So they could make him sound however they want. Like,
hmm
why would anybody not sound good in their fantasies?
right.
Yeah,
Totally.
you're
Like,
absolutely right.
it just doesn't
It's
make any
true.
sense. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that was bonkers. But anyway, but like, here's a crazy thing. So Transformers 1 made more money at the box office than Joker Folie à Deux.
Crazy.
A movie that was like completely forgotten and nobody paid any attention to made more
That's
money.
wild. That's wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the actual top 10 at the box office was Wicked, Moana 2, Beetlejuice 2, Gladiator 2, Sonic 3, The Wild Robot, Venom 3, Mufasa, and Red One. That was the top 10.
Red one.
According to Watch Mojo, last time I
Whoa.
checked.
Whoa.
And Smile 2. Sorry, Smile 2 is the 10th.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah, 10th.
Oh.
Yeah,
Ooh,
so
I
pretty
got
crazy.
I got one on the money then. Huh.
We did pretty good, the three of
Yeah.
us. So David, you had 22. So I gave 3 points for anybody that got the right placement in the right movie. I gave 2
Well
points
done.
for the right movie, and then I gave 1 point if you had an honorable mention.
Nice.
Okay.
So David had 22 because you had right placement for Moana 2 and for The Wild Robot and for Venom 3.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Smile too.
And Smile 2. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you had
Wow. How about that?
Yeah, so way to go.
So proud of you. That's amazing.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah. And so Manda, you had 18 and then I had 20 because I got the right placement for Wicked, for Moana 2, and for Venom 3.
Nice.
And then you had right placement for The Wild Robot. That was Manda, right, for The Wild
I never win these. So sad. I'm always last. Like,
yeah, but you got a point for Red One.
I didn't want to get a point for Red One after watching it. I'm gonna be honest.
I spared myself. I didn't watch it.
What a disappointment. I mean, because I was really hopeful that it would be like a fun Christmas movie.
At least fun.
I love Christmas movies, and it was so ugly to look at and not funny, not charming. And the thing is so much of the time spent was spent on the action. So if the action looks terrible, then that's a problem. And I mean, it looked worse than like the action in Once Upon a Time, which that looked really bad, but it was like Once Upon a Time, so you didn't care, I mean, that's how bad it looked, though. It really.
It's true. I would like it's supposed to be like colorful. It's Christmas. It's gray. It's literally gray the entire
It is very
movie.
gray, and it just looks awful.
It looks terrible, and it stole the joy from Christmas for me. I will never forgive them ever.
Yeah. Well, let's dive in. Let's talk about these 10 movies. So number 10, Smile 2. And like David, you nailed that. You got that right. 3 points.
Yeah. Right.
And I had the Lord of the Rings anime. So that was off. But it was so hard to know how that movie would do. And it ended up being a disappointment. I was hoping that in my dream fantasy world, it would be like a Princess Mononoke, but like with Lord of the Rings, kind of iconography. And I was hoping that it would be a way to kind of introduce non-fans to anime and kind of get them to realize like, oh, this is just like any other fantasy. But it ended up just being so generic high fantasy that it really just felt like they put a Lord of the Rings skin on a generic high fantasy anime film. And so it didn't do any of those things. And it just, I'm not a high fantasy person. And so it was not for me at all. And I just was disappointed because I was hoping, I feel like it had potential, the idea to do something more with it. And they didn't. I don't know. Do either of you see this?
I missed it, unfortunately.
I didn't see it. And the funny thing about this movie is I see more trailers for those just random animes that they put in theaters than I saw for this movie. They just didn't advertise it at all.
I agree.
Well,
that was a factor.
It's become increasingly clear that really the only reason they made it was to keep for a licensing thing, not for, it wasn't a real attempt to make like a real movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But you had Terrifier 3 in 10, and it certainly was a healthy hit. They even got number 1.
Yeah.
But not enough to make the top 10. Did you end up seeing it?
Oh, I did.
You did?
And
that's right, it was on your worst.
It is on my worst list of the year. It was a big disappointment. So honestly, you know what? The placement's fine. If anything, it could have been lower for me, but I was very excited for Terrifier 3. I thought the fans would show up more than they did, because this one actually felt like a movie for like in comparison to the first and second. But yeah, I mean, it showed up. I just thought it would do more, but at the same time, it's fine where it is. So, yeah.
Yeah. David, you had a whole event about it.
I did a live show, and I didn't like. I shouldn't say I didn't like. I never watched those movies because I thought they looked so bad, and so of course I caught up on them before my event. I ended up really liking them, surprisingly, and I liked the third one just fine. I thought it was as good as the other two. But yeah, I was surprised at how well it did, though, and even though it didn't make the top 10, but like I always say, and with Smile 2, never bet against horror.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because I knew that was going to be the Christmas movie this year that I didn't see. It was Terrifier 3. And and I actually saw a lot of horror this year. Just not that. I'm not going to see that. But it was funny because one of the co-hosts of the Hallmarkies, Michelle, she when she found out that it was a Christmas horror, she was like, no, I have to see it. I was like, no, you don't have to see it, because she didn't like either of the other two. And she's like, no, somebody has to cover the podcast. And I was like, just make sure you say in your review that I said you didn't have to see it.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, it's not a necessity for Christmas.
I'm like, what dedicated crew I have. But all right, let's talk about Smile 2. So I had actually not seen either of the Smile movies before seeing Smile 2. And so I watched Smile 1, and then the next day I watched Smile 2. And I really liked both. I thought it was a very interesting kind of take on trauma, and how do we listen to people in how they're expressing their trauma. Do we just discount them? Like, how do we treat people? And I thought that the second one did sort of lose a little bit of that kind of heart and message that the first one had. But I thought that the performance and the scares were really fun in the second one. Like, the first one was more artsy and more like, more of like a movie in that regard. But the second one, like, I was squirming the whole time. And maybe that's because I am somewhat new to horror. So like some of the jump scares maybe work better for me on other people than they do for other people. But I literally was like,
I'm with you.
You know,
I
I'm
love
totally with you.
that.
Yeah.
I love
Share.
it.
I do
I had a
think that these are
blast.
two
I
of
thought it was
the
really fun.
I think they are two of the scariest movies of the last like 10, 20 years, honestly.
They're really
And
good.
I love them. And I remember when the first one came out. I mean, obviously it was a big enough hit to, warrant a sequel, but
Yeah.
I feel like if you looked online, a lot of people were like, that movie was stupid. And so I was like banging the
What?
drum for it all through 2021 or whenever that was, 2022. But yeah, I really loved that movie, and I love the score especially.
Yeah.
As both movies have such great scores, and I'm just so glad to see everyone kind of come around on Smile 2. It seems like everybody loved this movie, and
Yeah.
the music is
And
so great. Sky Riley, hit of the summer,
yeah, I nominated. I submitted Naomi Scott as one of my best actress submissions for UFCA
totally.
awards. It didn't get picked, but I thought she gave one of the best performances of the year.
Yep.
I
I still
really
have to
do.
watch it.
Oh,
Oh, you haven't
she's
seen
great.
it?
I
Smile
love
too.
the first one. I like people dragged me for liking the first one. But I thought it was great. Like even the jump scares, like I obviously am not new to horror, but like I still was really scared of the first one. So I'm gonna save this for my Spooktober
Oh,
marathon. Yeah, I'm gonna
okay.
do that September, October. I'll start with this one for sure.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you think. I really did enjoy it. So there we go. It
Yeah.
was Smile 2. All right. So then number 9 was Red 1. And that so I had the Wild Robot at 9.
Mm.
And then David had Gladiator 2. And then Manda had Beetlejuice 2. Beetlejuice at 9. And we already talked about Red 1. So yeah, it was terrible. At number 8 was Mufasa. So that was
Ooh.
a big dud for what they were expecting and for I'm sure how much it costs and everything.
Yeah.
And I had Gladiator 2 there, and David had Sonic 3, and Manda had Moana 2
Mm.
there. And so Mufasa, did either of you see it?
I
No,
did.
I
Okay, what did
didn't.
you think?
I I thought it was fine. It's like clearly made for 5-year-olds, and like that's basically what the movie is. The songs are just awful, and
Oh.
I think the I think the look of the live action big air quotes here, it definitely looks better this time around, but it's just fine at best. And as for the box office, because obviously I had it at number one, that was my big thing where everybody threw tomatoes at me. This movie, not that I want it to succeed necessarily, but it keeps making more and more money, it seems like, week after week. So if we were to record this in like a couple of weeks, it might be like another spot or two up. But,
Yeah,
Maybe a
but
spot up.
we'll
yeah,
come back to it.
yeah,
The
not
thing
great.
is
Not great, though.
interesting is that you say that it's made for 5-year-olds, but like what 5-year-old is going to be interested in this plot?
I don't know.
What 5-year-old is interested
I'm
in a
dead.
love triangle between Scar, Mufasa, and Sarabi?
It's
So
so
like
weird.
it wasn't made. I felt like I felt the opposite. I felt like this movie is very unkid friendly. I can't think of there aside from the Timon and Pumbaa stuff. There was nothing in here for little kids.
Well, I thought it was just like pointing at the screen and saying "lion." Like that's
Okay,
that's what I,
because I
so,
mean I
That's
just
the
I was expecting them to have at least one character in the actual timeline, whatever, in the prequel timeline, that was a comic relief character. That was fun. That was funny. I mean, I guess they
none.
Shazazu briefly, but there was nothing. It was very serious. And all that time spent in the like on the mountain, I was just like, what is this? Like, who was this made for?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I just it was so strange to me. And I thought it was very boring. I'm like, who is interested in this love story? It was and then the fact that we're supposed to buy that he becomes a literal sociopath, like because so we're supposed to buy that Scar becomes Scar and and all that he does to manipulate Simba, to kill his brother, everything, that is all because he didn't get his lady prize. You know, like, what? That's crazy. And I mean,
The whole thing
I
is
was a little
ridiculous.
bit grateful that they didn't have Mufasa turn into a bully, which I was expecting them to do. Be like, oh, well, this is wise because Mufasa actually really wasn't that great, which would be a Disney thing to do. They didn't really do that, but like still, it was just like, come on. You really expect us to believe that this is the same guy that's like leading a Nazi rally?
It's ridiculous.
Be prepared, you know, like what?
It's also Easter egg overload. It's
Oh my
crazy.
gosh.
All the little like origins of all these little
No.
things. It's everything you can imagine from the Lion King, we find out where it came from. Every single thing.
Even I heard Rafiki's like staff has a
Yep.
story
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
too.
yeah. And
Yep.
Manda,
Oh
they
my
have
god.
the origin of Pride Rock. They
Yeah.
literally show its formation.
I laughed so hard. I was the only person in the theater. I laughed so hard during that moment.
Oh my god. The formation of
The
Pride
formation.
Rock. That's wild. That's wild. That's going a bit too far, man.
Yeah,
I think
it was
Disney.
baffling. It was kind of like watching when I was watching Joker 2. I was just like, what is going on? Like, it's
A
so
mess.
bizarre.
It is
Uh,
messy. I do
yeah.
think that Disney doesn't know how to do a balance for adults and children as well as they used to. And I think that's a major factor as to why, like, we question
Yeah.
while we're watching it. It's like, well, who is this? What's the demographic here? Because usually they do it quite well, but I can't, from what I'm hearing, they had no idea what to do with this film. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was, and I also thought it kind of looked like trash. I mean, because it's not only does, I mean, sure, it has the photorealism, but almost every shot was done from like a fisheye perspective. Like I told people, I was like, see this in 3D. That will be the best way to see it because everything was kind of pushing out anyway. And so it would at least be a little bit better to have it like
Like
literally coming
enjoyable.
at you,
Yeah.
you know, like a 3D.
Yeah.
And but I was like, every shot looks exactly the same.
Mm.
It was
Yeah.
weird. I thought it looked terrible. So that was Mufasa.
Are you a fan of Rachel's reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies.
Number 7 was Venom 3. And I have been a defender of these Venom movies. I liked the first one. The second one I even probably liked a little bit more because what I liked about these two movies was that they understood the assignment of making a buddy movie, a hangout movie that to me was funny. To me it was funny what they were doing there between Eddie and Venom. And in this movie, they lost so much of that. And they made the crucial mistake of taking themselves seriously and making this big, like, oh, we're supposed to feel all emotional. And they're like the montage with like Time of Your Life, like playing, you know, that we're supposed to be all sad that, oh, this great movie franchise is coming to an end. Give me a break. And I mean, and there were just so many bad choices. Like, would they have Venom? They have Eddie on this road trip. Like, what was going on there? And away from all of the things that, if we're supposed to be so attached to the two other Venom movies, then why did you separate him from everything that the other two movies had, from all the characters except for the one lady? They find a way to bring her back to Vegas. Like that makes no sense. And Juno Temple's character was terrible, and Chiwetel Ejiofor's character was terrible, and so I left quite disappointed actually. Like I wanted to just laugh and have a comedy, and this did not understand the assignment in my opinion. But I think you were more of a fan. How did you feel, Manda?
Well, I cried a lot and I didn't want to be emotionally attached to these characters, but the franchise has kind of become like a comfort franchise for me. I love Eddie and Venom so much together. I like you, Rachel, I've been a defender for a while. But for this one, it's just like I think what really got me was this is the only like trilogy, the only like superhero franchise that has some sort of finality to it. And I respected them for actually closing out like a three movie, like a trilogy, because we don't see that. They just continue, they keep going, they keep going. So I think for them to take it so seriously that they have to come to an end and like it's kind of like a goodbye to the Venom trilogy. I respected that. The characters aren't the greatest, but I was having a field day with the rest of the symbiotes and like just all forming together. We had all the different colors in the mix and all their different powers. And I was sold. I was sold because I'm like, as a comic book fan, I'm like, you know what? Yes, we finally have something in a live action for these characters. But like, it's not the greatest film, but because I'm so attached to both of them, I think their final goodbye was really good. And I absolutely adore Tom Hardy. So yeah, I cried a lot in Venom 3.
You see it, David?
Didn't see it. No,
Okay.
it was during my Utah trip, and I never caught up with it afterwards. So yeah,
Which we got to hang out, so that was
we did.
much better choice of
Love it.
how to use
That's
your
right.
time.
Yep, definitely.
For sure. We both had Venom 3 at 7, so we got the 3 points. And then Mondi, you had at 7, you had Smile 2. So
Okay.
we already talked about that. Okay,
Yeah.
so then 6 was the Wild Robot, which you both had at the right spot. And this did pretty well. And you know, it's interesting because I say like a critique of Mufasa is that it had nothing for kids. Well, you can even make a similar claim with the Wild Robot. It had very little that was specifically to appeal to kids. But in that case, because it was so strong and the writing was so strong, in my opinion, and the animation was so beautiful, the story was so good, that wasn't a problem. You know, so it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to pander to kids, but it does kind of make you wonder, you know, sometimes who are they trying to make this movie for? And in this case, I felt like, okay, they were trying to make this movie. It was a pretty mature movie, I think.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
from DreamWorks, especially from DreamWorks, because you expect DreamWorks to have the pithy sidekick, you know, kind of a thing, and they didn't really in this movie. And the closest was that fox, but he was pretty tame by sidekick standards. And so anyway, I loved it. It was my favorite movie of the year. Do you get a chance to see it, David?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. And honestly, I think as much as I love Flow, I think this might squeeze in and win Best Animated, and you know, actually defeat the Pixar, you know, Disney machine. But yeah, I think it's great.
It does seem to be a 2-horse race. I mean, and I love
Yeah.
Flo. I interviewed Gintz on this channel, so I love that too. So either one, I would be thrilled.
Yeah.
With, so should be a good night for animation.
Yeah.
Mana, what did you think of the Wild Robot?
I loved it. I mean, I heard mixed reviews out of TIFF, so I was kind of like apprehensive. I'm like, okay, people are saying that they cried, but then other people are saying it's overrated at the same time. And I'm like, what do you mean? So when I watched it, that was a beautiful story. The animation's stunning, but for me, it comes down to like even the voice cast. I think Lupita Nyong'o gave a wonderful performance. She was fantastic. And oh my gosh. Kit Connor as Bright Bill, I thought he was great too. Everyone was great. Pedro Pascal, like everyone was so good. But I think the reason why I loved it was that it didn't rely heavily on like the dialogue because it was more like visual storytelling. And I think that's where the connection was. They let it breathe. And they just let the images kind of speak for themselves, and I was just moved to tears as well. So I really love The Wild Robot. I was pleasantly surprised.
Did you do a Pieces episode on Wild Robot?
I recorded one. It hasn't come out yet. I'm going to be putting it out when it has its re-release in a week or two.
Oh, I would have some good pieces. I'd be curious to see what your guests pick.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that you could go on for that one for sure.
Yep.
Okay, so number 5 was Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and I had Mufasa at 5, and David had Joker 2, and Manda, you had Venom 3. So we all missed that one. But so Sonic 3, I actually think it's the weakest of the 3. It seems like a lot of people like it the best. But I liked all 3. And when I first posted that I thought it was the weakest of the 3, people like freaked out. They were like, "Oh, how dare you hate this movie?" I'm like, I literally liked it. I just thought it was the weakest of the 3. I just think they have crafted such a cute character that they could almost have him doing anything. And I just think
you're talking about Jim Carrey, right?
Right.
Naturally.
It's a very fun villain. But just Sonic himself, I just think is adorable. I really love like the voice performance and the character, and he's so endearing that it's very easy for me to like this. And the reason why I thought it was the weakest of the 3 is that I just felt like it sort of veered into generic superhero-ness a little bit more than the other 3. And I was just kind of like, so for me, I liked that a little bit less, like the action and was just a little bit superhero-y to me. And, but it was enjoyable. And Jim Carrey was really fun in the dual roles. And I just love Sonic. He's so cute.
He's adorable in comparison to what we originally had.
Oh my gosh.
No offense to those guys, but they needed time to polish, and I'm happy they got it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And did you see it, David?
I loved it. Yep.
Yeah, you loved it.
Loved it. Yeah, I love these movies, and I'm a Super Mario guy,
good.
but Sonic has clearly won the movie world. But yeah, Jim Carrey is just so damn fun, and Keanu Reeves being added to the cast is great, and Idris Elba back, and he's so great in it too. Just keep making him, keep doing whatever you got to do to get Jim Carrey back again and again. I'll be there.
Yeah. So it's just interesting because I really can't think of many other examples where I just love a character like the he's just so endearing, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's great, and I love everything about these movies. I would put 1 probably as the best, but I'd put 3 as second best.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So then at 4 was Gladiator 2. And I had Sonic 3 at 4. David, you had Joker 2. And let's see, I think I said it wrong. Manda, you had Venom 3. I think I said that wrong earlier. Anyway, you had Venom 3 at 4.
4, yeah.
Yeah. And so Gladiator 2, I feel like it was pretty divisive. When I went to see it, I was like, oh, everyone will have a great time with this. But I'm not like super attached to the original. I like it, but it's not like there's a lot of people have it in their like top 10 favorite films ever, and I'm definitely not on that level. It's a good film, but I don't know. So maybe that was part of it, is I wasn't expecting a masterpiece, and I just thought, oh, this was pretty fun. But I mean, it definitely was bonkers. It goes crazy. I mean, having like sharks in the thing was crazy, and like the visual effects, like there's some really crazy moments with those monkeys, and I don't know, sick. But I thought it was like pretty fun spectacle. What did you think, Manda, about it?
I really liked it. I love the first one, and I think that everyone complaining that it's like, there's too many threads to the first one. I'm like, but it's his son. Why wouldn't there be threads to him wearing the exact same like uniform and get Maximus's blade? And like, why wouldn't he do that? It doesn't make any sense. So people like in my screening, at least, were so upset with that too. And then the
Well, it was a little
historical,
bit of a stretch that he was his son.
it's
Like
a
they,
stretch, but
if
like
you were to buy that.
I had a bit of an inkling when I watched the first one. I'm like, they could make a sequel to this. And then they made a sequel to it. So like that's what ended up happening. Like I do get it. But at the same time, it's just like I kind of just went with the flow of the story because the cast is phenomenal. And I had a lot of fun watching Denzel Washington. I think he stole the spotlight, but when doesn't he? I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah.
Action was good, but again, like Ridley Scott's gonna Ridley Scott, and he's not gonna care what anyone says. He's gonna do his thing. And the historical accuracy conversations, I'm just like, but it looks cool. What do you mean? Like, who cares if there's sharks and there's like a weird like monkey coming at you? Like, it's just fun. And I also think that Paul Mescal, he's very good. He's a very good actor. I just think that the screenplay was the weakest thing about this film and really brought his performance down, which sucks. So,
What did you think, David, of it?
Yeah, I liked it. I love the first one, but I have a feeling like 10, 15, 20 years from now, I'll probably rewatch the first one and still love it, and I'll forget they ever made a sequel,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was fun though. It was all right. Denzel's the best part of it, and of course I like all those insane swings, like having the sharks and all that stuff. That stuff's always fun for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
mm.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so at 3, Beetlejuice. What a hit. I mean, nobody thought that this thing was going to do that well.
Wild, just wild. Like I'm not even a fan of the first one. Hot take. But I went to go watch the second one and I actually liked it. I dug it. I thought it was very good. It's a lot of fun.
Mhm.
But again, this came down to placement because I feel if it came out at the beginning of October versus the beginning of September, it would have fizzled out fast. It wouldn't have had the same legs for people to go to the theater
Mhm.
and watch it afterwards.
Yeah, it didn't
so.
have that much competition that like over Labor Day, to have. So that was smart. That was smart placement. I found it pretty entertaining. I like the first one. It's not like again, kind of like Gladiator. It's not like an all-timer for me, but I think it's pretty fun. And I did get a chance to see it on the big screen before I watched this one, which was enjoyable to get to do that. But yeah, I mean, it had some bad stuff, like Monica Bellucci's entire character. It was like, okay. Then I found out that she like dating Tim Burton. I'm like, okay, that's why she's in the movie, because there was no reason for her to be in this movie.
It's true.
Mhm.
It was like, what does she need? Is she like, she need a job? I guess, I don't know. Like there was no reason for her character to be in this movie, and so, but it was. I thought it was funny and it had like enough enjoyable moments. Catherine O'Hara, she was good. Yeah. For these kind of legacy sequels, I thought it was pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
What
the better
do you
one.
think, David, of it?
I thought it kind of sucked, honestly.
Okay.
But I did
Whoa.
I did know it was going to be a huge hit, though. I had it at 5.
Yeah.
I knew that people were going to show up for this after all these years. It seemed like the internet, in quotes, biggest, most anticipated movie of all time. So
Yeah. I had it at 6, so it wasn't too far off, but to be 3. So surprising. I had Joker 2 at 3, and then David, you had Wicked at 3, and Manda, you had Sonic at 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to me, it was like a pretty entertaining sequel, and maybe it was helped by somewhat low expectations.
Yeah, that's actually true. That does help after
Yeah.
that.
Secret to happiness in life.
Yeah, low
But for
expectations.
me, 2024 was almost a complete failure when it comes to studio filmmaking. I only had in my top 30 films of 2024, I only had 4 movies with over $50 million budget in my top 30.
Wow. Damn.
So there were a number of movies that I still gave a positive Rotten Tomatoes review, like Beetlejuice 2 or Gladiator 2, but like there weren't very many that I was championing that I loved.
Yeah. Which is fair. It's like, oh, okay, let's watch this and see how it goes type of thing. It's not a
Yeah.
hype level
The
event.
Wild Robot and Wicked, those were two of those four. Nosferatu, which only had a $50 million budget, so barely, what's that? Was in my top, and Inside Out 2. I actually had that in my top 30. That was a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Anyway, number 2 is Moana 2. And so this was a huge hit. I had predicted it 2. David, you also had predicted it 2. And Manda, you had Wicked a 2.
Yeah.
And I mean, I knew that this thing was going to make boatloads of money, and it did. But I think I feel like it's already been like forgotten. Like it's only a month away, 100%. And people have already forgotten about it.
I didn't even know that when Moana 2 was coming out. I didn't see any like marketing for Moana 2. I saw nothing. And then this thing is like really high up there at box office. I'm like, what's happening? I understand that like it's a family movie, it's kids, but
no, it's just because the first one was so popular and so well loved. It doesn't have anything to do with the quality of this film.
Yeah, because I didn't hear people really like the second one, like at all. So I don't know how it's. I don't know.
It's at best like serviceable, but I thought it was pretty. I didn't think it was very good, and it looks pretty, but it's so derivative of the first movie, and there's so many remember berries for the first movie. Yeah, even like for instance, the song. Instead of How Far I'll Go, the song is Beyond. Like it's basically the same song. And instead of You're Welcome, it's Can I Get a Chio? Which is it's basically the same song, just slightly different lyric.
Altered.
Yeah, ridiculous.
The big win of this, and by the way, I did not see it, but the big win of this is this was supposed to be streaming content, and they changed their mind and put it in theaters, and look how much money it made. So maybe we'll see a turnaround because that whole thing has just been the worst thing for art and entertainment of the last, forever, basically.
It's very true.
It's true. And I was foolish enough when they first announced streaming, I was thinking this is going to be a win for film goers because I thought it would be a way that the studios could bring us hidden movies that didn't have enough popularity to justify a physical media release, but they could put it on the streaming service and you could get a chance to see it. And so I thought, this could be really cool. And there has been a tiny bit of that, but barely any. And it's really just an excuse to put I know that it was always a thing that certain things went out of circulation, but not in like 2 months. Like some movies, it's just like.
Well, for example, Wicked's already on digital, and I'm like, why are we doing this?
You've literally there was a movie last year called Crater, which wasn't a great movie, but still, it was literally on Disney Plus for 2 months.
Yeah,
and they pulled it.
I remember that. Yeah,
that's
you're
crazy.
Just like, are you kidding me? Like nobody's had a chance to see this. Like I can't imagine what it would feel like if you were one of these filmmakers who worked on something, put your heart and soul into it, and it gets. I've Jonah Feingold, who's been on Hallmarkies podcast. He has a movie that one of his movies that got put on Paramount Plus is now just gone. You can't watch it. It's gone.
Yeah, it's not. That's
you know,
not
you're
it.
just like, what?
You put so much work into it, and then it's like no one's gonna be able to find a copy of it ever.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
mean,
just
and
in the
so I thought it
ether.
was going to be a way to like for people to find more art, and in a way it's just an excuse for them to take it away. His movie At Midnight is what it was called, and it's rom-com, and it's just gone. Nobody can watch it anymore,
Yeah.
which is
It's
just
terrible.
crazy to me and so
So
sad.
bad.
So okay. So Moana 2, completely forgettable. And but it made a lot of money. So way to go, Disney. Number 1 is Wicked. And
Yay.
I had Wicked at number 1. I was pretty confident that the Hive was strong enough that it was gonna really do well. And the fact that it ended up being a pretty good movie that most people enjoyed, I think helped it.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
number 1.
definitely. Yeah.
Yep.
I enjoyed it very much. I saw it 3 times, including going to the sing along, and that was a blast.
I wish I went.
Oh, it was really fun. And I went with my friend Camille, has seen the Broadway musical 25 times.
Holy, she has that thing
Yes,
memorized.
she does.
Like
She really does.
100%. I love that. Good
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah. So, David, you had Mufasa at 1, and Manda, you had Joker. Oh, sad.
Like, come on.
Manda
Come
gets
on.
negative points.
I do. Give it. It's true, David. Like, give me the negative points. Like, I put Joker above my beloved Wicked. Like, I
Negative
deserve
3.
like -3, fam. Like, I'm so upset with myself, but I'm so happy about Wicked.
Yeah, so you loved it.
Oh, of course. I watched it 5 times.
Oh,
I
nice.
brought everybody. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
If you hear me singing, no, you didn't. Like, it wasn't a sing along, but I'm still singing in this theater. So it was
Yeah.
nice because I think for me, what was so beautiful was just getting the reaction of everybody else in the crowd and knowing what's coming. And I was just like, I
Yeah.
was just beaming at like someone laughing at something Glinda said or getting emotional over, Alphaba. I was just so happy that people were feeling the same thing that I was feeling and everyone kind of enjoyed it. So it was really nice.
Yeah. And I actually don't think the digital release really actually hurts because it's still at the Prime Video, price, the $20.
Yeah,
Where it hurts it is when it's like on Disney Plus or,
that is
Paramount.
true.
You know what I mean? When people can
Yeah.
just stream it for free.
Yeah.
Then I think that makes more of a difference than when it's just available
Like
to
digital.
purchase.
That's fair.
Then it just becomes another piece of swag, basically.
Yeah.
That's true.
Which my friend Camille also had a lot of.
Love it.
So I actually waited in line for her because she wanted to get the Cinemark exclusive Galinda and a wand that they had.
The what? There's
The
a
wand, yeah. They had the wands.
Why don't I get a wand? That's
Yeah.
that's just sad.
I know you
can't.
missed out. Or did they not have those in those kind of things in
No,
Canada?
the maximum I got was this cup with the little Glinda.
Oh, that's
There you
cute.
go.
That's all I got.
That's cool.
And she's there. It looks sick.
Oh,
I'm like, I have to get it. There's no way I can't.
Yeah.
So
right.
yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of it? Did you see it, David?
I did. I actually saw it twice. I loved it. I thought it was
Yay!
great, and I was not even looking forward to it or anything. But yeah, it's
I
a
love that.
very hard movie to not like.
Yeah. I agree.
Love it. Yay.
Yeah. Well, very good. So there we go. That is the box office for the fall, and our predictions. Like I said, David, you won.
Yeah,
You won the
finally,
Yeah.
finally, won one.
Congrats.
I'm gonna win this year, guys. It's not gonna happen. It's not.
Yeah. So I got a honorable mention point because I had Smile 2 as an honorable mention. So I got 1 point.
Mm.
And then Manda, you got 1 point for Red One.
Is that what I get?
Yeah, our other honorable mentions that we had was I had Transformers 1 and Nosferatu, and you had Nosferatu, David, and Night Bitch and Megalopolis.
Well, that was an asterisk honorable mention. I knew that was gonna fail miserably, but I wanted to shout it out. Night Bitch, I was so hopeful for, but they barely even released that movie. They
No.
They
did it
buried
dirty.
it. They
Yeah.
buried it, so it's very unfortunate. It's a very good movie. Like I loved it coming out of TIFF. It was so good. So I'm happy. I'm like upset they buried it.
Yeah, I think that I would like. I think that it's a movie that's for a very specific demographic. I think that if you're a stay-at-home mom or
That's
mom in general, but especially stay-at-home moms, they will like love that movie because they will feel seen in a way few movies have seen, which I'm fan of that. But for me, I was just like, this is making me so uncomfortable.
It's a bummer.
Just like, oh no.
I'm sad.
But I can't say it wasn't well done.
Yeah,
But,
no, it was all right.
Yeah.
It was good.
Boy, it made me not want it. Like that movie could be birth control. It made people not want to have children.
Yeah.
A lot of people said that. I'm not gonna lie. I get it. Oh my God.
But then Manda, you had Saturday Night and Honora.
My poor Saturday night did nothing.
Yeah.
Oh my
It was
God.
really good too. It was like my
enjoyed
number
it.
11 or 12 of the year, like right around there. Yeah.
Is it literally? I'm so happy it was around there for you
Yeah.
because it's in my top 5, and I just, oh my God, as a huge SNL fan, like I love that thing. I love that movie. So it just broke my heart that it did nothing. But shout out to Gabriel LaBelle for getting nominated for a Golden Globe.
Yeah.
My boy, good job, man.
Yeah. Oh, well, it was kind of fun because Kim Matula, she played Jane Curtin. She didn't have that many lines, but anyway, it was kind of fun. Somebody I've interviewed.
I
was in
love
it,
that.
so.
She was so good. She was so good. I hope she gets more work because she was great.
Yeah. So there we go. That is the fall box office. Let us know what you think about all these movies, what you think about how they did or didn't do. I'd love to hear in the comment section. And David, where can people find you?
You can find Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow me on social media at PiecingPod, and check out my new album of songs about my pets, the Pups, a boy and his dog and 3 cats and a bear. It's out now.
Oh, very good. Very, very good.
So cute.
Well, no wonder you like Night Bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He gets it.
But Manda, what about you?
Yeah, you guys can always follow me over at AMX ND Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, and Blue Sky, and Threads. You can check out my website, candidxcinema.com, and my YouTube, Candid Cinema, as well.
Yeah. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over the place and at iTunes and YouTube and everywhere. So make sure to check that out. Make sure to check out Hallmarky's podcast. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. So appreciate that. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group, which is the biggest way you can support what we're doing. And we have really cool Patreon events every month and I try to make it super worth your investment. And then we have the merch store where we have tons of fun designs, including #AnimationJunkie shirts and all kinds of fun stuff. So check it out. And thanks so much to both of you. It's always so much fun. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.